What up, guys? First off, hope everything's going well. Today was a little choppy, especially towards the end. But with that, I'm gonna focus today on some stocks that I know for tomorrow's watch list in terms of the bigger account. Um, but for a smaller account, there's definitely some good opportunities out there. Looking at overall market, definitely a pretty bad candle today, so that's something to keep in mind. I'm watching that 450 to 450.3 level for a possible bounce tomorrow. One good thing for the bull side is that after expiration, there's been a green day to follow the past three times. So based off probability, possibly green day tomorrow, but obviously gonna respond to the price action. So as always, I'm gonna start, with the flow. Look at some things here. So first thing that sticks out, CVS is never this high, but it looks like they have a dividend date, so I'm not going to play CVS. SoFi is also high, gapped up. I'm definitely going to check into SoFi. Let's see. I know after hours there was some movement on SoFi up, but that's perfectly fine. Whenever I play a gap, I always wait on a retest. And I also like a gap up, especially in a pretty weak market, because that downside can come fast and it can get us some pretty good moves there as well. So I like that a lot. Let's see on the flow. We closed at 13.7. So it looks like we're getting hit all the way up to the 16 calls. I like that a lot. 13 puts are hot. 13.5 puts. 14 puts are hot. So we don't have to go too crazy out of the money. I like SoFi a lot there, especially with a pretty weak market. The potential for the gap down is big, but also has some strength as we've seen. So it could break this level, whatever the hell this level is. 14.3, 14.4 area looks to be a massive level on the daily. So I'm going to keep that in mind as well. In terms of the tickers that I know and I like to play a lot, the two that I have in mind right now are Facebook and PayPal. And what really sticks out, I'll talk about it more when we get over into the charts, but Facebook monthly chart is absolutely ugly with a lot of room to fall. And PayPal's chart also is pretty ugly with a lot of room to fall. But we could also bounce. So that's something that I like a lot there. Just check the flow on Facebook real quick. Let's see. So definitely, we had a pretty strong day early. It popped. Could get some nice gains there, but definitely tanked with the market later in the day. Today's breakdown. All right, if it'll load. Maybe. All right, here we go. So the hottest call here is 330s. Nice. 340s are getting hit. 320 puts, that's already in the money. 315 and 310 puts are getting hit. So I like that a lot. Definitely got to run into the day towards these 315, 310 puts, which is nice. I like that. We can play both sides pretty well. Definitely going to have Facebook and PayPal for the bigger accounts. Let's see. Other names. BAC is one of the smaller account plays I like to play. Let's see. So it looks like, obviously we gapped up hard yesterday on BAC. I didn't play it today, but we're back down in those levels. That daily candle is going to be disgusting. Let's see what. Whoa. All right, go to today's breakdown. Let's see here on BAC. Anything cool? Any day now. So 121.45 puts are hot. 128.148 calls are hot as well. So that could be a pretty nice play as well. I definitely like it more to the downside, I think, with the overall market. But the 48 calls getting hit is something nice to see. Let's see. Hot chains and tickers. I'm going to keep BAC in mind for sure. Let's see. BAC, keep that in mind. Facebook, Uber, INTC. So Biden was talking about semiconductors today at 4 o'clock. So that's something I'm going to keep in mind as well. And this is looking like a pretty critical spot here for BAC. This big level here around 53.3 looks pretty massive. So if we can't hold that, we have a pretty good drop on the upside. A little bit more congestion, but I'm going to check the flow, see what we have here. So the biggest is that 54 call, which is pretty nice, not too far out of the money. Getting hit up to 55s, 57s, 56, 60 even. So, a lot of people look like they're keen on a bounce short term, which is nice to see, but we're getting hit down. These puts, this 218.50 put also sticks out. I'm definitely going to keep INTC in mind. I like that a lot for a smaller account chip play. Let's see, one other one I definitely want to check out is Neo. Neo's one of those smaller account plays I like to play a lot, if I can find it. So pretty decent call volume here, even though a pretty rough day in the market. So let's see what we can see here. Today's breakdown. So calls are getting hit up to 32 for 121. That's a pretty decent move. Even that 30 call is a big move in 2 days. So I like that a lot. Definitely going to keep in mind Neo. Go over, let's chart out some levels. So right now, I like Neo, BAC, Facebook, PayPal, SoFi. Those are the ones that really stuck out to me just based off of a level. But with tomorrow, a lot of volatility I expect. So I'm going to stick more to the tickers, that I kind of know how they're going to react, right? And one thing, this is the chart I was talking about here, the monthly and the weekly on this is pretty so right here, that big bearish engulfing up top, and then we're in pretty key zones, but the big zone I notice here is around 300. What's the low here? And 308 and 300. I'm just going to put some levels here, 308 and around 300. All right, that'll work for now. Cool. So I'm going to break down some levels, 15-minute. So obviously very ugly day, and we're right at consolidation zone. I'm going to go underneath the zone when looking for my levels. So let's see. I think the upside is going to be a little bit easier here in terms of finding a level to start. So that's what I'm going to start with. And the first level I notice is right in here. Let's see, what's this? 321.75. Multiple tops before breaking. It was bottom support here. I like that a lot for a call trigger. 321.75. It's also within that 20-25% area. Flip this blue. So it's not too far that we miss a move, but it also can act as a resistance bounce down. Over that, some price targets. Oh boy. So the first one sticks out. What's the high here? 322.7 before we ultimately fell. Put that in blue. Cool. And then over that, I like this zone right up in here at about 324. Yeah, I'm going to put 324, big psych level as well. I like that for the upside. And then if we can get over that, we can push up into these 325 to 326.5, 327 area. But I don't expect that too much tomorrow, especially with volatility. I'm expecting a lot of chops. On the downside, I'm going to have to use hourly. Alright, so first thing I noticed, I want to stay underneath this zone. But I noticed this here, 317.15. I'm going to put that as my put trigger. Maybe. Let's see, 317.15. Put that in blue. Cool, I like that a lot on the downside. Some levels here, as I mentioned, on the daily, even the weekly, and the monthly, there's not too much really holding Facebook up at this point, but it has been a pretty strong name. They do have ER coming up in the first week of February, I believe, so that could be a possible catalyst just to run up there. So the next one is 315.5. That's a big drop, right? That's probably why we saw those 315 puts being hit. So I like that a lot. Definite downside. And then underneath that, I might scroll out a little bit. 315.5. So under that, I noticed this level here. What's this high? 313.75. I like that a lot. Get out of here, notification. Alright, cool. So for Facebook, I like over 321.75 for calls, under 317.15 for puts. Second one I'm going to check into is my baby PayPal. This is just one I know. So I'm gonna add that, look at some levels, and I'm expecting that volatility tomorrow. So that's something I'm gonna really stick to the plays I know, just in terms of the bigger account. But the smaller ones, I like some of this flow that we have coming in, and the possibility on both sides. So for PayPal, let's go 15-minute. Break this down a little bit. Definitely a pretty ugly chart as well. Not going to see too many pretty ones here. First thing that sticks out to me is this double top here, 175.35 area. It's also acted as a low here, then ultimately fell off, bounced back up, all sorts of stuff here. So I like that level, 175.35 for my call trigger. Over that, this level right in here, let's see, this is a big bottom, so it's definitely going to be some big support, 175.6. So to the upside, we're looking a little bit limited right away, which is okay. But if we can push through that level, right in here looks pretty big. It's also very big with the POC and this volume profile. It's right around that 176.10 level. Yeah, it's definitely a big level. So 176.10. I definitely like the downside a lot more on PayPal, on Facebook, with the market conditions. But if we do get a bounce, definitely going to trade that upper impossible reversal. Good Lord, this is ugly. So POC on the alloys all the way up here at 187.27. I'm about to scroll over. Holy cow. Okay, so there's not much anywhere to be found for support underneath these two. So I'm going to use 172.6 as my put trigger right underneath the low of this one. And then I might use the daily to even look for possible targets underneath that level. Yeah, like this is ugly. A lot of consolidation, then just a fall. A lot of longer upper wicks, even with the potential for trying to bounce back here. Alright, I'm about to go way over on PayPal. Jesus. Alright, so let's see. This level in here is going to be big. 170 is going to be big. It's a psych level. So I'm going to put 170 as my first target, honestly, underneath that. It could bounce. I'll put one, let's see. I'll use this VPA at 171 as my second. I don't want to be too unreasonable, but there is not a lot holding PayPal up at this point. As we can see with the VPA, the next real big level under that 172.6 level is down here at 155.5. So that could be a big drop tomorrow on PayPal. Alright, so I'm going to look at SoFi next. We saw those, talked about that gap up. Kind of ugly daily chart even with the gap up. So I have played SoFi before. There's some triggers up there. Move these, start fresh. Let's go to the 15. In terms of SoFi, alright, so up here is going to be a big level. I'm going to mark that, but I think it's a little bit too far for a call trigger. So I like that as a potential. But the level I noticed first is this 14 level here. And I like that for calls a lot. And the reason being, it's a big psych level. It's acted as both resistance here, support, support again. And ultimately, before falling, it couldn't really hold that 14 level. So I like that a lot. On the downside, I noticed, all these bottom wicks here. But I ultimately noticed this double bottom before bouncing at 13.4. So underneath 13.4, we could get a pretty decent drop. We have a gap fill all the way down to, what's the high of this, 12 area, which is, pretty intense. But, I'm going to use this VPA here in order to put my first target at 13.16. All right, stop texting me, people. I like that 13.16, and then underneath that, I like 13.05 a lot. Put this down here, 13.05. Cool, I like those targets a lot. The first target I'm going to have here on the upside is 14.25. We have this top here before it really started falling. And then over that, I like to 14.4. SoFi definitely has potential both ways. We'll see how the overall market is looking, but SoFi is definitely going on my list. SoFi. All right, INTC is going to be my next one we're going to look at. I like this a lot in terms of a play for chips, smaller accounts, something to really keep in mind, and I like a lot. What's the high here? 1394, 53.94. So I'm gonna put my call trigger up here, 53.95. Again, I don't want anything too crazy out of the money, so I use that 20-25 method. And then in terms of a potential target, my first one's going to be 54.10. We got a lot of wicks touching that level, so I like that a lot. And I don't want to get too unreasonable with it, so I'm going to keep that there. And then over that, I like, let's see, VPA we don't have much until up here. Bunch of wicks hitting, so 54.3, I like that as my second target here. Touches multiple times, wicks are hitting it up and down, support and resistance before falling. Like that a lot. On the downside, we're going to use this hourly again. This is the problem with, tickers. Oh, wow. Okay. So this looks really good to the downside. Underneath, what's this level here? 54.38. Cool. Low here, 54. I'm going to go right under this at 53.3 for my put trigger. And I like underneath that zone a lot. It definitely was a big support area, so underneath we can get a big flush. It looks like 53.4 was a bigger VPA level, but I like that 53.3 just because there's a lot of pressure in there from a support side, so I'm not going to try to short that there. Underneath that, 53.05 will be my first target based off of this hourly chart. 53.05, put that there. Yep. All right, let's go to the 15. I don't even like. Yeah, there's definitely a big chunk. 53.33. Yeah, I'm gonna wait until it settles underneath that zone in order to play it. Just because there is a lot of pressure there, and before it ultimately bounced off that 53.3 level, pretty decent run. So I'm gonna play it on the safer side there. So I do notice this level here, 53. What are the highs of these? 53.22. So that's gonna be my first target on INTC. Underneath that level, I like it down to 53.05, and then even if we break that level, we got 52.93. It's a pretty slow mover, but these contracts can pay more just because they're smaller in size, premium's cheaper, so I like that play a lot. And another thing to note with INTC is that it runs off of the other chips, so keeping a broad look at the chips is something that can really help when going in and assessing INTC, whether to enter a play or just sit on your hands for a little bit before really entering. Next one I'm gonna check NEO. Neo. Alright, so it looks like Neo's at a pretty good spot for a decent sized play. And the first one I notice here on this downside is definitely 28.5. I like that, but there's a lot of support down here, 28.3, a lot of support down here even. So I'm gonna take it down to right before it bounced at 28.25 for my put trigger. Whoa, if I can do it. All right, right before it bounced, 28.25. I like that on the put side a lot. Let's see some targets here. So the first level I notice is down here. I'm gonna use my VPA a little bit to help me. 28.05 is definitely a big level, as we can see here. I like that 28.05, and then underneath that, these wicks here, 27.9 is gonna be a level, but even just looking at our VPA. There's not all that much congestion down here. I'm going to scroll out a little. Oh boy, I'm going to go to the hourly. Can't really see those. Alright, so it looks like, this is going to be a big bottom on Neo, but if we break under it, that's a big play. What's the low on this? 27.78. I'm going to put that as my overall bigger target down here, 27.78. It was a bounce spot, 27.8. Cool. So that's definitely a big bounce spot if we can hold. But if we're underneath that, we have room to run, as with a lot of the stocks that we have seen today. On the upside, I like, there's a lot of stuff going on here, right? So I'm going to let it kind of get over this mess here. And we're going to go with, before it ultimately fell, the level it's testing is 29.05, and it's testing it pretty heavy. So I'm going to go 29.05, call trigger. And then over that, my first zone I like is 29.25, top of this zone here. I like that a lot. Yeah, definitely big zone C here. Double bottom before it ultimately launched. I like that a lot. And then over that, 29.4 is going to be a big zone. What's the low here? 29.4 will be my second target there. Mark this in yellow, put it 29.4. I like that a lot. Potential for both side plays. But with tomorrow, I'm expecting a lot of volatility and some pretty quick chops. So I'm just going to focus on tickers that I know and have been able to trade well, and focus on taking profits quick. Really eliminate that greed, stick to my rules. If I trade bad, step away for a minute and take some time to really think, why did I enter and what happened. But I am expecting some chops. So tomorrow I'm going to definitely focus on playing the retest solely. And on SoFi, it has some after hour movement. So I'm going to wait on that retest. If it holds the retest of our call trigger and bounces, a nice candle above, I'm going to play SoFi to the upside. If we can't hold that 14 level, I will play puts off of a failed call trigger. That is one way to play it as well. But with the gap ups, I always wait on a retest just because I don't want to chase. If it doesn't hold that level and bounce, then there's that big downside that comes. And if we're in early, there goes our account pretty fast, just based off of a terrible entry, right? So those five I really like a lot. INTC, going to watch, AMD, NVIDIA a lot when it comes to that. But the others, keep in mind SPY and QQQ, as the market is pretty weak at this point. But, I talked about it later, VIXpiration, that has resulted in 3 green days following. So that's something I'm going to keep in mind as well. But definitely, just stick to trading the price action as opposed to letting our emotions get in. So, best of luck, and let's kill it again.